Okay, today we're going to do Mark chapter 13, verse 24 to 37. So, my question is everyone, this is Advent. It's Christmas time of year. It's December 3rd, and it's exciting as we're getting ready for Christmas. Christmas is a very artistic time of year. My question to some of you is, what's your favorite town to go to with lights and things like that? There's no greater place than New York City. New York City is magical, and Christmas is everything's decorated. You got the Rockefeller tree. There's so much art that goes into New York City. One of my favorite places I like to go is Longwood Gardens in Pennsylvania, and then another town, as I will ask you what is one of your favorite towns, is Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Bethlehem, Pennsylvania is all dolled up and just looks absolutely amazing for Christmas. So there is a lot of different art that goes on at Christmas time. There's a lot of movies. Some of you probably have your favorite movies. There's a lot of different books that are put out. There's poems. There's drawings and paintings. Now, when we get to Advent, Advent means two things. As yes, we are here for the birth of Jesus Christ, being born in Bethlehem. The second thing of Advent is the second coming of Jesus. What an exciting time that is. So Vincent van Gogh painted a picture, and there's two trains of thought here. And at least two trains of thought of why he painted this picture. But Vincent van Gogh is one of the, obviously some of you know, one of the most famous artists of all time. He has a photo called Starry Night. It is a painting. It's one of the most renowned paintings in the world. Now, Vincent van Gogh was a Christian. He also had extreme mental health, and with his mental health, some people said this is what he saw outside of the psychiatric care that he was staying in, facility he was staying at, that he saw a church, and he saw of what it looked like. And it's very ominous. And one of the things that he was able to do, Van Gogh, was he was from Holland, was able to take dark colors, but then he would contrast them with such bright colors. And he was a genius. And the other thing is, Vincent van Gogh, his father was a pastor. Vincent van Gogh was a missionary at one time and went to Belgium to do missions. His father was a pastor. So he knew the Lord. And when we get to this text, some people say that Vincent van Gogh painted this picture of what it would be like when Jesus comes back. It is a very ominous, but also a bright photo. When there is a separation when Jesus comes back, it will be very ominous for the wicked, the evil. But for those that are righteous, what a glorious day it'll be. What a day of light and brightness, as Van Gogh was able to take such dark colors and contrast them with light. What a glorious day it'll be when Jesus comes. And then, like I said, we are here to celebrate Advent. Not only the birth, but also the second coming. And this, whether it is Van Gogh's idea of the second coming in this text, that he painted this picture or not, some believe that. But Christmas is an artistic time of year. And this text talks about how Van Gogh kind of painted this picture. Whether it was not, he did it intentionally or not. But it talks about the darkness. The darkness of, and it starts off with the apocalypse. The darkness of the clouds. The darkness of the moon. Darkness of the sun will go out. The stars will fall. And this is what Jesus is telling his followers. And this picture looks something of this text. The next part of this text, we get into, Jesus talks about the fig tree. Jesus gets into a fig tree and the time of when there will be signs of when Jesus is coming back. It says with the fig tree that when there is in the summertime, the leaves get tender. The leaves also not only will get tender, they will start to bloom. And you will know summer is near. That's when you know Jesus is coming back. Every summer this happens. So it is hard to outguess God. You can't grasp God. Our minds can't comprehend God's goodness. So we are not going to be able to outguess God and be able to predict exactly when Jesus is coming back. But there are signs. He also says in verse 31, which is very important, the heavens and the earth will pass away, but my word will not. That is what he says. You can bank on Jesus is coming back. When is he coming back? We don't really know. But he's coming back. And that is something to get excited for. Very excited for. What a glorious day that'll be. So also he talks about with the fig tree. The generation to come. As Mark's writing this around 70 AD, that generation will not be able, as their scholars believe that Mark was talking to his generation, as Mark believed, that they would see Jesus coming back. Also, other scholars believe that generation that saw the sign, that generation won't go away until Jesus comes back. There's two trains of thought. Mark would see that Jesus, his generation would see him. The other one is that the generation that sees these signs. Now, the signs are there. As you go to Matthew 24, we've seen signs since the beginning. Earthquakes, Matthew 24 says. Famines, disease. These are moral and natural evils. We've had them since the beginning because of original sin. Nation versus nation, brother versus brother. And that's what we have. So it's hard for us to really understand and really to grasp when Jesus is coming back, because it has been chaotic from the beginning and will be chaotic until the end. Yes, it will definitely get worse at the end before Jesus comes back. But it is up to us to keep the peace. It is up to us to take care of the basic necessities of people, to truly love one another, and to keep peace and pray for peace. Because of human sin and original sin, until Jesus comes back, will there be total eradication of war, famine, earthquakes. And when Jesus comes back, all that will be gone. And what a glorious day it'll be. There will be no more sin, and we will have new, pure bodies as our bodies will be raised from the grave. What a glorious day that will be. I want to go to verse 32, as this is very important to tell you why we can't outguess God. Don't put God in a box. God is mysterious, and why people sometimes try to figure out when God's coming back. He says in verse 32, and this is important, Jesus is even saying, I don't even know when I am coming back. Only the Father knows. You won't know the day or the hour. So it's important to not spend all your time trying to figure out Jesus coming back. Know that he's coming back and be alert. As verse 33 tells us, be alert. Be alert. How exciting is that? Be ready for this glorious day where there won't be any more sin. There won't be any more war. There won't be any marginalization and oppression. Jesus knows a thing or two about marginalization and oppression. Again, when this is written and Jesus is telling his followers, that time Jesus can foresee. Jesus can foresee the future. Parts of the future. He knows what's going to happen throughout his life. He knows that the Romans are overtaking and oppress the Jewish. The Jewish, when he dies, will be persecuting the Jewish Christians. And the Christians that'll be Gentile. Jesus can understand that. Jesus knows that throughout his life. He also understands that the Jewish revolts will come And eventually the Romans will have enough because they were already having Jewish revolts. Pontius Pilate was one that could push revolts and get the Jewish so fed up that they would revolt. And that would take down the temple. The temple would be knocked down, and that happens around 70 AD when Mark is writing this. So Jesus could see what was coming. So keep in mind that there was marginalization, oppression, problems like that. Things that we see and things that we see a sign during Jesus' time that Jesus saw as well. Jesus could see the future that the Romans would get fed up with these revolts and that there would be a time where they would totally knock down and get fed up and knock down the temple and part of Jerusalem, and that's what happened. Some things we can predict. But the Father is the only one that knows when Jesus is coming back. That's very important. As Matthew 24 also says, he will come like a thief in the night. We're not going to exactly know. And to tell you more again, verse 33 is to be alert. That's what our job. Verse 34 is extremely important because it says Jesus starts telling a parable again. He's always talks in parables so they will understand it. It's like a homeowner leaving it to his servants. We are to serve. Jesus said, I come to serve, not to be served. We are to serve. That is our job. And with that servitude, we are to do things, care for people, pray for peace, be against war, to have the basic necessities for people. This week I had a great workshop that I was able to understand the serving as Jesus is telling us to serve. Jesus again said, I came to serve, not to be served. And that's what we have to be, humble servants. He says, I will leave the home and the servants will take care of it. And that's what we're to do. We're to take care of it. Again, there will be no eradication of all original sin and domination and war until Jesus comes back. But we can do our best. And it's our jobs as servants to make peace on earth and to make as much harmony as we can. But in that 35th verse, 34, we are to serve. In that 35th verse, again, it goes back and tells us that we won't know the hour. We won't know the evening or the day. We won't even know the dawn or when the rooster crows, as the 35th verse says. We won't know. So stop trying to outguess God. God is mysterious. He is much bigger. The mind can't understand it. We can't understand how glorious that day will be when He comes to us. Just like the glorious day when Jesus was born, humbly. But remember how glorious it was when the angels sang to the shepherds out in the field. We can't comprehend that. God is too glorious and too good for us. So again, verse 34, we are to serve. And I had to go back on this workshop I had. There were some pastors talking about it in American Baptist churches in New Jersey, what they were doing. And here's one of the things, 3 things that were brought up. There's a pastor up in North Jersey. I can't remember the area. It's an urban area. It's not Newark, but I can't remember exactly what town it is. It's an urban area, and they're teaching the kids, because they want to keep them off the streets, they're teaching them a sport, teaching them how to play tennis. And the pastor said, why do we choose tennis? In the urban area, tennis is not a very popular sport. Even in the United States, tennis is not in the top 5 of the most popular sports. It's in the top 10, but it's not in the top 5. But tennis is something he wanted them to come out of their comfort zone, to learn something different than basketball, football that they usually are used to. To come out of their comfort zone, and also tennis has a lot to do with discipline and mental discipline. With that being said, you can play as a team in doubles, or you can play single. And it takes teamwork if you're playing doubles, and it takes a lot of mental discipline, whether you're playing singles or double. And it's a sport that you can play for the rest of your life if you take care of yourself. So this was important. This was to keep kids off the street, to serve. So they won't get caught up into drugs, alcohol, sexual problems, violence. The other pastors in Red Bank, which is about 40 minutes from here north, they have two shelters. And they were talking, and they have their sister churches. One has a women's shelter for Code Blue. The other one has a men's shelter when it's Code Blue. Now the men's shelter, the female shelter, the pastor talked about first. And he said something that caught my eye of servitude and how we have to serve and what's important. That this is very important to get people off the streets when it is extremely cold. We should already have them off the streets and living in safe places anyhow. Basic necessities in life is a right, not a privilege, as I said last week. But he said something that caught my attention. He says, isn't it funny that this woman, this homeless woman, adopted a cat? And when she adopted a cat, this was therapeutic to her. She fed him, she took care, she kept the cat warmer than she was being kept warm. And the authorities found out about this cat, obviously, and animal control. They had to take the cat away, and they were going to take the cat to a place where it would give it shelter. And he says this, isn't it funny and how messed up our society is that they can find a place for a cat to have shelter, but not a homeless woman? Isn't that crazy how our society is? That is not right. We need to have the basic rights and necessities for the people. It is not a privilege, it is a right. That's why this ministry is so meaningful, especially when Code Blue is under 32 or under. You've got to get the people off the streets, brothers and sisters, and serve them. Bob Dylan, as in his song, you're going to have to serve somebody. You're going to have to serve somebody. Might be the devil, might be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody. And let me tell you something. When you serve, you're going to want to serve the Lord, because on that day that he comes back, or that day you take your last breath on heaven and you're in judgment seat, you're going to want to have to serve the Lord, because he has left, as verse 34 says, he has left it to us, and we have to serve him humbly. Sir, you're going to have to serve somebody. Might be the devil, might be the Lord. You might as well serve the Lord. The second one was this, and this caught me. It's the pastor that has the men's shelter when it's Code Blue. Again, their sister churches in Red Bank. And he said, I believe his name was Guillermo, and would come every time they would feed and have dinner together when the Code Blue was out there and pull the men off the street. The other church would get the women. He said Guillermo was always in there. He would help out. The volunteers loved him. He would even come to church. There was one night Guillermo didn't come in, and the pastor learned shortly after that and had to tell his volunteers. Guillermo passed away. Guillermo's friend didn't want to come into the church, so he wanted to stay with his friend. He didn't want to leave his friend alone, and he froze to death. This should not be happening in the United States or anywhere. That someone freezes to death. That is torture. That is inhumane. That is not right. That is not what Jesus left to us for. Jesus did not leave us to be servants, to have people freezing to death. Now, the pastor said something that really hit me again. He says the second thing. There is no greater love than to laying down one's life for their friend. You can find that in John 15th chapter. This man, for some reason, his friend wouldn't come into a church. We have to be very hospitable as people in the church. Some people have been hurt from the church. Some people don't feel like they're good enough to come to the church. We have to care and get out to our community and let them know that they are welcomed and we love them. For various reasons, this man didn't come into the church for some reason or another. He could have been hurt, maybe not feeling good enough, maybe scared, all kinds of things. Various reasons. But Guillermo stayed with his friend and cost him his life. But again, there is no greater love than laying down one's life for your friend. And the pastor said, and I'm saying to you too, there is no greater love than laying down one's life for their friend. But Jesus didn't do it for one friend. He did it for all of his friends, as you are his friend. Your brother or sister are his friend. Your mom is his friend. Your child is his friend. Jesus laid his life down for each and every one of us. There is no greater love that he would lay his life down for his friend, as he is your best friend. He is my best friend. And he says, because of Guillermo, it is an honor in his honor to keep this ministry going, and it gives him strength and courage. It gives him endurance to continue this ministry as Code Blue, to make sure no one else freezes out on the streets. That's how we serve. You're going to have to serve somebody. Might be the devil, might be the Lord. It might as well be the Lord. Verse 36 and 37 are important. One of my favorite hobbies is sleeping. I love to sleep. It's my favorite hobby. One of my favorite things to do. Lay my head down. Take a nap. Or sleep at night. I love to sleep. But it says, don't be caught sleeping. You're not going to know again in verse 32. Only the Father will know. Verse 35, it says you won't know the dawn, the evening, the day. Not even when the rooster crows. So don't be caught sleeping. And in verse 37, the last verse I bring to you, it says, watch. We have to be alert. We have to watch and not be caught sleeping. My dad used to sing this song to me in the morning, and I wanted to sleep in and sleep later before school. But my dad would always sing this song. It's a famous song. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. And he would keep singing those two lines over and over until I got up. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. And it drove me nuts because I wanted to sleep. I'm going to change the lyrics a little bit. Oh, what a glorious month. This is a glorious month. This is a very glorious month that we get to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And then, oh, what a glorious month that we get to observe and celebrate the second coming, because it's coming. The heavens and the earth may pass away, but my words will not. You can stand on the promises of Jesus' words. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Oh, what a glorious month. Oh, what a glorious day. I'm going to get on my knees and pray. When Jesus comes back, it's going to be okay. There will be chaos until Jesus comes back. But it's our duty to serve and continue to serve and do good, just like they're doing in Red Bank and doing up in North Jersey and all around the world, to make sure that people have the basic necessities in life, because that is a right, not a privilege. And to fight against the wars, violence, senseless violence. It is our jobs as servants. You're going to have to serve somebody. It might be the devil, it might be the Lord. You might as well choose the Lord. Vincent van Gogh, I will end in this. I started my sermon with this, but I will end it as this. Vincent van Gogh, his brilliancy. He died in poverty. He took his own life. He had mental illness. His life is had a lot of chaos in it. He cut the top of his ear off in a fight with his girlfriend. He had extreme mental illness. We can't brush this under the rug. Mental illness is something we have to stop stigmatizing. Maybe he would have lived longer than 37 years and done more paintings and artwork. But that wasn't the case. But his sister-in-law, after he passed, by death by suicide, very tragic. Vincent van Gogh knew the Lord. He was a missionary and his father was a pastor. But his His sister-in-law believed in him, believed in his paintings. And she went out and showed people his paintings, that they would appreciate paintings like she did, and not only appreciate them, but honor them. Appreciate and honor. Vincent van Gogh, if the Van Gogh name is on any of the paintings, he did over 800 canvas paintings and over 2,000 regular paintings. If the Van Gogh name is on it, it's now worth thousands of thousands of thousands of dollars and millions and millions and millions of dollars. But it wasn't until after his death of his sister-in-law, who was widowed, who believed in him, to appreciate and honor his paintings. And his paintings now are worth millions of dollars. This Starry Night picture, the original, God only knows how much it is worth, but it's worth millions and millions of dollars. It's one of the most famous paintings of all time, whether it is a painting of the Second Coming or not, but it surely looks like the Second Coming. But it took till his death. Took till his death that people appreciated it and honored him. And Jesus is this month. We appreciate and honor this baby that was born in Bethlehem. Some appreciated and honored Jesus on that birth. Some appreciated and honored Jesus throughout his life. More appreciated and honored him after his death. More appreciated and honored him after his resurrection. But when he comes back, everyone, all people